There's a very specific kind of relief that only comes after you've been pushing against something for a while and it finally gives way. Not luck, not a shortcut. Just confirmation that the effort was actually going somewhere. Today, two separate planets deliver that exact feeling on the same day, at nearly the same hour. One tells you your work was warranted. The other tells you that the part of life that's supposed to feel good is finally allowed to feel good again. This isn't a subtle Tuesday. This is the sky exhaling after a genuinely demanding week. Saturn, still retrograde in Aries, forms an exact trine to the Sun in Leo today, the culmination of a supportive structure that's been building since yesterday. At the same time, Venus finally leaves Virgo and enters Libra, the sign she rules, where she stays through September 10th. Mercury also crosses a finish line today, officially completing its post-retrograde shadow period at 26 degrees Cancer, meaning the last residue of Julie's retrograde confusion is finally clearing. Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron remain retrograde in Aries, Aquarius, and Taurus. And tonight, the moon in Gemini forms an easy sextile to Mercury, making conversation and self-expression noticeably smoother than the past several days. It's worth separating these two events because they're doing genuinely different jobs, even though they land on the same day. The Sun-Saturn trine is the confirmation type of relief. Saturn doesn't hand out validation for free. It's traditionally the planet most associated with delayed gratification, the one that makes you earn a result through repetition and discipline before it lets you feel good about it. When Saturn trines the Sun, that discipline finally gets acknowledged rather than just demanded. This isn't the flashy, lucky kind of good news. It's the quieter kind. Proof that something you kept doing even when nobody was watching was actually building towards something real. Venus entering her home sign of Libra is a completely different flavor of relief, not earned, just allowed. Venus is unusually comfortable in Libra, the sign she rules, and her arrival there tends to soften whatever's been feeling like effort in relationships, negotiations, or simple day-to-day harmony. Where Saturn's trine says your work counted, Venus in Libra says you're allowed to enjoy things again, starting now. There's a reason these two arriving on the same day matters more than it might first appear. Saturn's structural approval and Venus's relational ease are, in a sense, opposite muscles, one built through discipline, one built through allowing. Most weeks you only get access to one at a time. Today, both open up together, which is part of why it can feel less like an ordinary Thursday and more like an actual turning point. Underneath both of these, Mercury finally shaking off its retrograde shadow adds a third, quieter layer. Communication itself just got measurably clearer. If conversations have felt slightly off since July, today marks the real end of that fog. Not just the technical end of the retrograde weeks ago. Forget the mechanics for a second. Here's what today does to an actual person in plain terms. The Sun-Saturn trine is permission to actually feel proud of something you've been quietly grinding on. What to do? Instead of immediately moving on to the next task, take a real moment today to notice what specifically got easier or more solid because of effort you put in weeks ago. Don't skip the acknowledgement just because the work isn't finished yet. Venus entering Libra is permission to stop over-functioning in a relationship or negotiation. What to do? If you've been the one doing all the smoothing over lately, today is a good day to let something be easy instead of managing it so carefully. Let someone else meet you halfway for once. Mercury clearing its shadow is a genuine, the fog actually lifted signal, not just a technical footnote. What to do if there's a conversation you've been avoiding because your head hasn't felt clear enough to have it well. Today is a legitimately good day to finally have it. Tonight's Moon-Mercury sextile adds a final layer of ease to the day. What to do? Use the evening for the conversation, the message, or the creative work that's needed a lighter touch than you've had access to recently. Words genuinely come easier tonight than they have in days. There's also a financial layer worth naming, since Venus governs money as much as she governs relationships. With her settling into Libra today, spending and earning both tend to feel more balanced, less reactive than they have in recent weeks. What to do if you've been avoiding a financial conversation or decision because it felt too tense to approach fairly? Today's Venus is genuinely better suited to negotiating something even-handed than the sharper energy of the past several days was. There's a physical dimension too, easy to overlook. After a stretch of Mercury fog and Saturn-related pressure, many people carry tension in the jaw, shoulders, or chest without fully noticing it. What to do? Today's combined ease is a good day to actually let your body catch up a walk, a stretch, an actual exhale, rather than pushing straight through to the next obligation. And there's a relational pattern worth watching for beyond just romantic partnerships. Venus in Libra tends to smooth professional relationships and friendships just as much as it smooths romance. What to do if there's a colleague or friend you've had quiet friction with? Today carries a genuinely higher chance of that tension dissolving on its own, almost without effort, if you simply stay open rather than guarded. Put together, the human experience of today is this: you're likely to feel both earned and allowed today earned. Because something you kept showing up for finally gets acknowledged, and allowed because a part of life that's been feeling like work gets permission to simply feel good instead. Communication clears in a way that's been slowly building for days rather than arriving all at once. So conversations you've been putting off may finally move without the friction they had even a few days ago. Money and negotiations carry a fairer, more balanced tone than they have recently, making today a better day than most to actually resolve something financial rather than avoid it. Physically, you may notice a kind of exhale you didn't realize you were holding. The accumulated tension of a demanding week finally allowed to release. Friendships and working relationships that have felt slightly strained lately have a real chance of softening on their own today, almost without anyone needing to explicitly fix anything. Most people will just notice today as a genuinely good day without immediately connecting it to any one cause. That's accurate. Today isn't one lucky break. It's three separate systems: effort, ease, and clarity, all finishing their work at almost the same time, with money, body, and relationships all quietly benefiting from the same underlying shift. Some days give you a reward. Today gives you something better, proof. Whatever you kept doing without much acknowledgement, the sky just confirmed it was never wasted. Tell me in the comments, what's the one thing you kept showing up for, even when nobody was watching, that finally feels like it's paying off today?